What comes first in your mind when you think of yourself? Sige nga. Imagine, a person is facing on a mirror and sees an image of himself or herself. Similarly, when one is thinking critically, he or she is looking at the elements of his or her own thoughts. While a person is in front of a mirror and sees his or her own physical reflection, an individual thinking encounters what is going on inside of his or her own mind. Thus, when a person thinks critically, he or she needs to see how his or her mind works in terms of its abilities and incapabilities, and how this can be improved to help him or her decide more effectively and act more appropriately in a given situation. Hi, I am Hamzar Agak, and today we're going to talk about egocentrism and sociocentrism. First, there's a philosopher named Plato who believes that self awareness is the key to living a meaningful life. So, anong ibig sabihin ni Plato rito? There's a quotation from Socrates that shares the same concept as what Plato believes. Nasabi sa quotation na ito na the unexamined life is not worth living. Ibig sabihin, ang isang unexamined life ay deprived sa essence ng buhay at kung anong kahalagahan nito sa atin. So, therefore, is it not worth living? So guys, if I would ask you, what is the essence of life? Nasabi pa ni Socrates na to become fully human means to use our highly developed faculty of thought to raise our existence above that mere of beasts. Ano ba itong sinasabi niyang highly developed faculty of thought? Ito ang ating utak or brains. Sabi pa rito na if we don't think, we are no more than animals. Simply eating, sleeping, working, and procreating. Yes, alam naman natin na may utak din ang mga hayop. Ngunit, ang utak natin ay mas smart sa kanila. And so kung hindi natin alam kung anong essence ng ating buhay, kung wala tayong ginagawa para maging meaningful ito, then wala rin tayong pinagkaiba sa mga hayop na kumakain lang, natutulog, at nagpaparami buong buhay nila. Para kay Socrates, ang examine life is how you spend your time and engage in life's most difficult subjects, gaya ng justice, virtue, pity, truth, among others. Sabi niya, an examined life involves spending time with ourselves and others talking about these concepts and try to get better understanding of them and how we should apply them in our lives. The alternative of an examined life would be to think hard about what we value about life and what we are doing with ours. Now, back to Plato. He believes that self-awareness is the key to living a meaningful life. So therefore, it is inaccurate to conceive critical thinking as a purely cognitive or intellectual activities detached from or irrelevant to the realities of life. On the other hand, thinking may be the most important of all human activities. We think when we interact with each other. We think so we can interpret the world around us. You see, thinking is natural, even for us. Even dati, we use our tiny brains to think para makasurvive. And in today's modern world, ang dali na lang para sa atin how to think. Pero, how about thinking critically? Paano natin magigain itong critical thinking na sinasabi nila? The first step in gaining the mastery over critical thinking is that we need to be aware of the two tendencies na nakakahadlang sa atin para ma-attain ito. So, dito na pumapasok yung egocentrism at sociocentrism. So, what is this egocentrism? Egocentrism is the way we think only of ourselves without the regard for the feelings or desires of others. Sa madaling salita, ang mga egocentric thinker ay self-centered. They are also biased. Pero sa anong paraan? Okay. Ang mga egocentric thinker ay ang mga taong akala nila ay sila lang yung tama. And they do not entertain nor recognize other opinions na tama except sa kanila. Bakit isa ito sa mga naging tendencies na nakakahadlang in attaining critical thinking? Why? Kasi they believe that their opinion matters the most at yung ibang opinion are just nonsense compared sa kanila. In short, ang egocentric thinker ay closed-minded. So, let me give you an example. An egocentric thinker believes that drug addiction is wrong, which is totoo naman. Pero naniniwala sila na ang mga drug addicts should be penalized, or worst case is that they deserve to liquidate by extrajudicial means. So, ano itong extrajudicial means? It means actions taken without legal foundation, without judicial authorizations and procedures in the form of proper, appropriate, valid warrants, without arrest warrants specifying the criminal offense, without filing a criminal charges within the specified time limits, without informing the person of the charge against them, denial of access to legal counsel, and the denial of human rights, legal rights, and access to proper medical treatment for illness or injury. You see, as someone who is egocentric thinker, it's so easy for them to judge others without considering the fact na ang daming reasons why they became the person they are right now. For example, in this case, makikita natin na ang addicts may be considered as victims too, who also needs protections against the real perpetrators of the drug menace. On the other hand, when egocentrism is applied on a wider context, then it leads to sociocentrism. Is a tendency to assume the superiority or rightness of one's own social group. So kung yung egocentrism ay self-centered, in this case, ang sociocentrism is an entire social group or community. Sociocentrism imposes its own worldview on others. Itong sociocentrisms ay pwede nating makita sa iba't ibang religious groups, gaya ng mga Christians, Islam, and Jewish communities. You see, these religious groups, for example, yung Christianity and Islams, they share the same concept. Pero, ang iba is, nag-iiba lang ng interpretation. Makita natin na meron silang tinatawag na Holy Bible in Christian and Quran naman sa Islam. So, itong holy book na tinatawag nila ay naglalaman ng mga verses na pinaniniwalaan nilang words galing from God. And they have these rules na they have to follow in order to become a true believer. So, paano ito naging sociocentrism? It is because they share the same opinions or beliefs as the way others view it sa mga belong sa communities nila. But the problem with this sociocentric thinking is the uncritical tendency to select self-serving positive descriptions of ourselves and negative descriptions of those who think differently from us. Let's say that they believe that only man and a woman lang ang ginawa ni God and wala nang iba. And they are the only one who's only valid. I've seen so many discriminations against the member of LGBTQ plus community. Madalas silang sinasabihang salot sa lipunan at mapupunta lang sa hell dahil ganun sila. I meant no offense, pero you see, minsan nagiging toxic na yung mindset ng isang tao dahil sa pinaniniwalaan nila na para sa kanila ay tama. They became so close-minded and toxic na ini-ignore na lang nila yung existence ng iba. It's easy for them to prejudice others just because they do not share the same opinions as they do, without again considering the other reasons. Well, study shows that sexuality is not a choice, but it is a result of complex combinations of one's genes, environment, and hormones. There are also social and political factions. For instance, yung RH Bill or the Reproductive Health Bill of 2012. Alam naman natin na ang overpopulation ay isa sa mga naging problemang kinakaharap ng Pilipinas. So, bilang tugon, ipinasa ng pamahalaan ang the Responsible Parenthood and Reproductive Health Act of 2012 o mas kilala sa tawag na RH Law. Alam naman natin na ang Pilipinas ay masyadong religious na bansa. We're not that open-minded, kaya may mga taong nag-oppose dito at naniniwala sila na contraception is corruption, and they believe that the RH Law Bill is an anti-life bill. Kasi para sa ating mga Pilipino, ang pagkakaroon daw ng anak ay matatawag na gift from God or blessings. Well, for me personally, I do believe that having a baby is really a blessings. Pero may requirements ito. Only if you wanted to and you're financially and mentally prepared for the expenses at sa pag-aalaga ng baby. Kasi yung baby, you see, it's a lifetime responsibilities. As a parents, responsibilities mo na palakahin siya, pakainin siya, pagdamitin at pag-aralin. Pero if you're not mentally prepared, ano na lang ipapakain mo sa anak mo? Paano mo siya mabibigyan ng magandang kinabukasan at paano mo mapapalaki ito ng maayos kung ikaw mismo ay hindi prepared? Matatawag mo bang best blessings yon? Ang dami kong batang nakikita na sa murang edad ay kumakayod na kasi hindi sila kayang buhayin ng parents nila. Yung iba ay nakakatigil mag-aral at napipilitang makipagsapalaran dahil sa hirap ng buhay, where in fact, hindi naman nila supposed to be ginagawa yon. May mga cases naman na yung mismong magulang na ang nagbebenta sa sarili nilang anak para pagkakitaan. Yung iba ay binubugaw pa nila. And there are some cases naman na yung mga babies tinatapon na lang kahit saan-saan or minsan pinapaanpon just because of unwanted pregnancies. Nakakalungkot lang isipin na people are willing to ignore the truth just because of what they believe. Instead of thinking the consequences of our actions na pagkakaroon ng baby na hindi tayo mentally prepared and financially prepared is ini-ignore na lang natin ito dahil naniniwala tayo na ang pagkakaroon ng baby ay isang blessing. This opposing group illustrates how certain groups would feel strongly about their passionate advocacy to the point of becoming intolerant and sometimes outright hostiles to those whose point of view are dissimilar to theirs. So what's the lessons we get from this topic? To attain critical thinking, we should overcome first the two tendencies that often hinder us to think critically, which is the egocentrism and sociocentrism. Pero paano natin ito ma-overcome? Study shows that sometimes we are unaware of why we are doing it. Pero nag-uugat ito sa pagiging close-minded person natin. So, if we wish to overcome these barriers, it is important for us to start with being mindful of the other's need. Hindi lang dapat nakasarado ang opinion natin or ang utak natin sa kung anong palagay natin ay tama. We should also listen sa pananaw ng iba. Sa pakikipagpalitan ng opinion, it's important na open ang ating pang-inawa to accept others' point of view. We should also accept defeats. Kung mali ang ating opinion, then change it. Sa ganung paraan, tayo ay natututo. Let's keep in our minds na ang perspective ng iba ay valid as ours. That's all. Thank you.